A listener note. This episode may contain spoilers for a handful of movies and TV shows. Fair warning.
Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I'm your host, Sebastian Langdale, and I'm joined here with my co-creator, Austen Rackless. Hey, Austen.
Hey, Sebastian. Happy rest day.
Happy rest day. How is your rest day going?
My rest day is going good. I might watch a movie later. That's something, I like to do on a rest day. And perhaps I will watch a sports movie. I've got some good options thanks to today's guest.
Yeah, Matt Bird, an old friend of yours, actually.
Yeah, Matt is a writer, podcast host, story analyst. He is the author of the book, The Secrets of Story, and its follow-up, The Secrets of Character.
Yeah.
He is just a fount of cinematic knowledge. Like, it feels like you could say the title of any movie to him, and he would be able to tell you something about it.
That super comes across in this episode. The breadth of his knowledge, his passion for film, and how it even makes its way into his exercise routine. He has one of the most original ways of keeping himself on track in terms of exercising, which is riding the elliptical while watching action movies.
Yeah, because movies play such a role in his fitness routine and he's so passionate about movies in general, we decided we would get the recommendations for best sports movies.
Very cool.
This is also a genre that I'm quite passionate about as well.
Yeah.
And I'm actually co-host this episode all the way through, not my just few minutes at the beginning.
I love that.
So we all brought our favorite sports movies and we discussed them.
Yeah, we cover a lot of ground and a lot of movies in this episode. And Matt opens up about a period of his life when he was going through serious health problems. He was living in New York at the time and kind of walked the entirety of Central Park day by day and got to know it so intimately. And I found it very moving.
It was really moving.
Yeah.
I should also say that after we recorded this episode, I was a guest on Matt's podcast, A Good Story Well Told, which he co-hosts with Jonathan Auxier, where I got to pitch to them that the 2001 cinematic classic Hardball, starring Keanu Reeves, was an unsung masterpiece.
Oh, really?
You'll have to listen to see if they bought my argument or not. But it was really fun to do, and I'm really grateful for him for inviting me on the show, and I am grateful that he agreed to come on to our show.
Yeah.
Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Here is Rest Day Radio with Matt Bird.
And me.
And you. Matt, thank you for being here. It's great to see you. We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So what did you do and how did it go?
So it's funny. You go back to, I think it was 1998 or so, and I was working in a movie theater and another kid working in the movie theater who was like, here's what you should be doing. And I've done it every single weekday of my life ever since. I got an elliptical runner set up in my living room facing the TV. I hop on my elliptical runner. I put on an action movie. I exercise for, it's supposed to be 30 minutes, but sometimes I get down to 25 or even 22 minutes. And then I hop off. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I go ahead and I do arm day. And I've got two 25-pound weights. And I do 30 curls, 3 reps of 10, and 3 reps of 10 arm lifts. And that's what this kid told me to do in a movie theater in 1998. And that's what I've been doing ever since. It's been extremely consistent.
So what was the movie you were watching today? What was the action movie?
I finished watching Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation, which is a great movie to exercise to. I've exercised to it many times. I'm currently working my way through all 8 of them again.
Do you have a favorite movie, like, for this purpose?
I would say maybe Speed, Jan de Bont's 1994 classic, because it has speed in the title, and it goes very fast, and it's a very adrenaline-fueled movie. So that's one of my favorite movies to exercise to.
And you always watch action movies.
I do try other genres, and occasionally I get bored of action movies, and I try to work out to normal movies. I've got 2 podcasts. One of my podcasts is called A Good Story Well Told with Jonathan Auxier, and I have to watch movies for that. And we are about to have Austen as a guest on our podcast, and we're about to do Hardball, and I've got to decide if I'm going to try to get a workout out of Hardball.
Fair warning, you might start crying. It's a tearjerker.
Well, that would be a problem.
Are there, any movies that especially bring out a fitness theme for you? I'm kind of curious.
Well, Austin asked me to come up with 3 sports movies that I was going to recommend. Do you want to jump into that?
So for context, Matt and I went to film school together. And
Yes.
I would say even within that context of people who love movies, you stood out for your sort of encyclopedic knowledge of movies.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, I remember one professor suggested you start like a one-man show called Movies and Me, where you talked about your life in movies, which I thought was a good idea, and I'm just going to throw that back out to you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the suggestion.
Did you choose 3 sports-based movies?
I chose 3 sports-based movies.
We can jump into that. Yeah, sure.
So the 3 movies I chose were Breaking Away, The Fighter, and Ford versus Ferrari. I just love all 3 of those sports movies. I think that they are, they're about much more than sports. They're about life.
Breaking Away is the earliest of these, right?
Yes.
Can you kind of talk us through the plot a little bit?
Yeah, it's about someone who grows up as the son of a quarryman in Bloomington, Indiana, and identifies himself with the people who work in the quarry, doesn't like the college kids who go to Indiana University there in Bloomington. And he idolizes the Italian bicycle racing team, and he wants to become a bicycle racer. But he eventually realizes over the course of the movie that he's not really a quarryman, that he does belong in college, that he should be going to IU. And when he gets to race against the Italian team and they cheat, and then he goes home to his father and he says, everybody cheats. I just didn't know it before. And as always in great movies, he is actually confronting his father by saying this, by talking about the Italian team. There's subtext, as we say in the story analysis business. It's just, it's one of my most favorite heartbreaking movie moments.
So I did have one quibble with one of your movies.
What's that?
I'm not sure that I think Ford versus Ferrari qualifies as a sports movie.
Why not?
It is a competition movie, but the problem they're trying to solve is actually an engineering problem. It's not an athletics problem. Like, Christian Bale isn't trying to become a better driver. They are trying to build a better car. So for me, I'm not sure it's a sports movie. What's your take on that?
So I agree it is maybe more of an engineering movie than a sports movie, but it's definitely a sports movie. I mean, car racing is a huge part of it, and there's a lot of big, huge car races in the movie, and a lot of the movies about winning and losing and whether or not you're going to win or lose the big race. If that's not sports, what is?
I guess I just feel like maybe a sports movie, the problem has to be a sports problem rather than a package that the problem is coming in.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of car racing, I think.
I did say quibble. I didn't say major
Okay.
objection. I said quibble.
Okay.
Talk to us about The Fighter. It's a boxing movie, right?
It's a boxing movie. Mark Wahlberg plays a real-life boxer who is trying to make it out of small town Massachusetts. Meanwhile, his brother wants to be involved in his boxing career, but his brother is played by Christian Bale, and he is a crack addict. He is someone who is addicted to drugs, and he has a new girlfriend, Amy Adams. Amy Adams helps him break away from his family and try to make it on his own. But then at the last minute, just when it looks like he's going to make it on his own away from his family, he decides to let his family back into his life. And the whole thing ends up, again, storytelling, the well-storytelling device, irony, another big thing. We talked about subtext with the last movie. We'll talk about irony with this movie. I love that when he goes in the ring at the end, they're playing the song, Here I Go Again on My Own, going down the only road I've ever known, like a drifter I was born to walk alone. But he's doing exactly the opposite of that.
It sounds like for you, what makes a good sports movie is kind of a strong emotional undercurrent. Is that the case?
Oh, yeah. The best sports movies are either about winning by losing or losing by winning. At the end of Ford versus Ferrari, this is Christian Bale. There's 2 Christian Bale movies here. Finds out he has to intentionally lose the race in order to make his bosses happy. But he's come to learn and grow and figured out that it's not just about him, and he's got to be a team player. And he sort of wins by voluntarily losing the race. The Fighter and Breaking Away are a little bit different because they have, in each case, the big final match at the end sort of happens after the big personal revelations have happened. But, another good sports movie I like a lot, my favorite good sports movie of the last couple of years was Marty Supreme. And Marty Supreme they actually talk about winning by losing and losing by winning in Marty Supreme.
Well, this is interesting. So for years, decades, I have said that Tin Cup is one of my favorite sports movies.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Costner plays a owner of a driving range in a very small West Texas town. He was a very promising golfer in college, but flamed out in qualifying school because of his inner demons. He would always go for the harder, more beautiful shot than making the smart play. And now, 20 years later, he decides he's going to try to qualify for the US Open and win the US Open. But, his inner demons are still there. Came out in 1996. I saw it in the theater probably twice. I rewatched it this week and I might be demoting it. Think it stayed on my list because of the ending, which is a winning by losing ending. I do actually very much resonate with the character of Roy McAvoy, despite all of our differences, because as Sebastian knows, I play rec league tennis.
Yes.
And my problem is that I will always go for the harder, more beautiful shot than the smart play. And I could probably win a lot more matches if I would just not go for that really hard angle winner.
There you go.
But yes, I forgot all about the other 75% of this movie. The love story takes up a lot more space than I remembered, and it's not like the most compelling of love stories.
Brene Russo is the love interest.
She's the love interest. Much of the movie wasn't as strong as I remembered it.
It's funny. I had somewhat of the opposite experience. That movie Whip It, directed by Drew Barrymore, about roller derbies and set in Texas, actually. I enjoyed more than I thought I might. I really did enjoy the rewatch.
Yeah. Are they roller skates or roller blades?
Pretty sure they're
skates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skates.
Yeah.
Are you a rollerblader, Sebastian?
When I was in middle school, I would rollerblade to school every day.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Maybe the sports that we played are influencing the movies that we like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested because this is a show called Secretly Sporty.
Yes.
I'm kind of interested in these ways that kind of like secret sportsmen or secret sports moments might sneak their way onto films that otherwise aren't thought of as like sports films. So, for instance, Royal Tenenbaums, the Luke Wilson character, Richie the bomber, who's like kind of tennis legend who falls on hard times.
Well, there's a very funny moment in the movie showing his sort of meltdown on court. They really don't show a lot of his actual tennis matches.
I like how that shapes the emotional reality of that character.
Yeah, it's a very funny scene.
Here's one other movie, and I'm kind of curious, Matt, what you think about this, which is When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, yeah.
When Billy Crystal goes out, is it Bruno Kirby, his kind of like best friend in that movie?
Yes.
They go out speed walking. I think it's meant to be a kind of comedic moment, but I never know because of the time period. Are they just actually speed walking and it's meant to be quite serious?
That's an excellent question. It's always hard to know with movies that have gotten that old of going like, was this an inherently humorous thing? I think whenever there's something where it's the latest trend, there's always something a little bit satirical about it. And certainly the late, great Rob Reiner was, someone who was not averse to having very dry jokes going under the surface of scenes.
It feels like Billy is exaggerating his form a little bit there.
I think so.
I also just find speed walking kind of inherently kind of funny, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Walk as fast as you can, but don't run. Don't bring out into a run. So don't go as fast as you can.
We haven't talked about sports documentary movies. You know which one I liked more than I thought I would is the Netflix David Beckham movie. I think it's just called Beckham. I thought it was going to just be a vanity project, but enjoyed watching it.
I'd say probably my favorite sports documentary is something where it's esports, King of Kong, so it may not count.
Oh, that's a good movie. That's a really good movie. Yeah.
Doesn't count, but respect.
So you don't count esports?
Esports are video games, yes.
It's about someone who is determined to become the best Donkey Kong player who comes up against a cheater as he's trying to win the Donkey Kong. It's just a delightful documentary.
I guess the real question is, Sebastian, if somebody was an avid video game player and a writer, musician, filmmaker, would we invite them on the show? Would they qualify?
Like Tony Hawk, who, for instance, is mostly known just as a video game personality, right? He's like a make-believe, I want to say, skateboarder, mostly only in video games. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, Austen. Sounds kind of far-fetched.
Yeah.
I was talking about David Beckham just as a segue to talking about Ted Lasso, which is not a movie, but which I do really like.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like talking about like, pathos and emotional subcurrents. I feel like that show does it well.
I thought the first season was like one of the best crafted seasons of television. What do you think, Matt?
It really is, and it's interesting in that they do sort of win by losing at the end. Doing that whole season and ending it on them losing and getting demoted is just a real, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to do that. And I just think it's, one of the ballsiest moves I've ever seen a TV show pull off, to just have, you just love this guy. You love Ted so much. And you love at that point so many members of the team. It's very realistic. It's, obviously most of the time when you support a sports team, they're not going to go all the way. But they, you're very used to your team can't always win. But I thought it was an excellent season TV. I thought all 3 seasons were excellent.
But I think what you said is why I like sports in general and why I like sports movies is that it gives this opportunity really to talk about failure and experience failure through other people and process failure along with winning. But failure is such a big part of it. Like, again, going back to tennis, like in professional tennis, they have tournaments, but like only one person is going to win that tournament. Everyone else, like they can be like some of the most successful tennis players in the world and they have a losing record.
Yeah.
Like that's just life,
Right.
Another one of my movies is Sugar, the 2008 movie directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, their follow-up to Half Nelson, which really like put them on the scene. And they were kind of our contemporaries in New York.
Yes.
I remember they screened Half Nelson at Columbia.
Yes.
And Sugar is about a young Dominican baseball player who gets brought in over to the minor leagues in the U.S. And I think he starts out playing in like Iowa. It's like huge culture shock. And it's sort of about his experience of trying to navigate both coming to the U.S. as well as the minor league baseball system. I'm a big minor league baseball fan, to put it mildly.
How many stadiums have you visited?
So we have seen 38 active teams.
Wow.
That's 38 more than me.
But I think it's a great movie that really gets to sort of like the dichotomy of the minor league, which is part of what draws me to it, is that they're some of the best people at what they do, and yet only 10% of them will make it to the major leagues.
Right.
So you fail, you're amazing and you fail like constantly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen Friday Night Lights, TV show. I would not describe myself as a football guy at all, and yet that show won me over. We started watching it when we were living in Texas the first time, and then we moved Ted Lasso style to England. And I remember on Super Bowl Sunday, we would watch Friday Night Lights.
I would actually do that too, even though I was living in the U.S.
There's something about that couple, the coach, Kyle Chandler, the way that he like becomes everyone's dad in a way. Like, I didn't have that with any coach when I was growing up. My coaches were not like that on any sports team I played on. But I like the idea of that, and he just plays that role so well.
I feel like I was very lucky. I had pretty close relationships with a lot of coaches, but my high school softball coach, who was also the athletic director of our school, we're connected on like social media and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Within the past year, she like posted like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," and I was like, "Oh," like I was still like meant exactly what it meant to me when I was like 16, 17 years old.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I never played any sports at all myself. I'm missing a layer in my skin. I'm very sensitive to sweat and moisture, and there are all sorts of reasons why I never did sports. But I did instead quiz bowl, and I had, a very much sort of intense love-hate relationship with my coach. I went to Earlham College, but I consider going to Hampshire. And at one point, Hampshire wrote a letter to my school going like, why does this kid have such bad grades and such high test scores? We can't decide whether or not to let him in. And I found out that this coach, who I thought didn't like me, had written this glowing letter, and I got to read the letter about why I was such a wonderful student and why I should get into college. And then that got me into Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
I never really got a chance to thank him, and then he died of AIDS. So it was very, emotional moment in my life.
Wow.
Something we like to ask guests is, can you think of a moment when exercise brought you through an especially challenging period of your life, an especially hard period?
Yeah, I've got a very good answer to that. I had stage 4 cancer, and I almost died. This was right after Columbia.
Wow.
My doctors kept insisting I didn't have cancer, and I kept insisting I did. And then I finally convinced them. And then they were like, oh, crap. At this point, you're stage 4B. You're almost dead. And so they gave me a whole lifetime's worth of chemotherapy crammed into 6 months. And I was completely zonked. I was in constant toxic shock. I could not work, could not do anything, was just sacked out on my couch, and streaming had not been invented yet. So I couldn't even stream stuff. I had to rent DVDs. But so then eventually I got tired of being on the couch all the time. And I'm like, well, I can try to go for a walk and, just walk as far as I can and then get too sick and limp home. And so I started just walking over to Grant's Tomb, 10 blocks north of Columbia and Columbia Housing and back. And then I started walking further and further and further every day. And then eventually I got to the point where I would walk all the way down to Columbus Circle. So I would walk the entire length of Riverside Park and then go over and walk the entire length of Central Park. And I got to know Central Park very, very well. You can plot me down anywhere in the middle of the woods or the ramble or anything in Central Park, and I can find my way out just fine. I know that park like the back of my hand. And I got to the point where every single day I would walk over to Grant's Tomb and then all the way down through both parks. There was a Borders bookstore there, and I would go into Borders bookstore and I would read and then eventually take the subway home. And that was a time when I really was able to use exercise to recover from a death-defying affair.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow. That is the place one of the places in the world that I would really like to kind of explore, and it feels so limitless in a way, and it feels like it has these secret discoverable places that it'd be really cool to know it that well.
It's worth exploring, even though I did eventually give up on New York. It's one of my all-time favorite places in the world is Central Park.
Matt, we like to end on a lightning round. We have some lightning round questions for you.
Yeah.
First lightning round question for you. Cardio or strength training if you had to choose one?
I guess I would choose cardio because of my beloved action movies, but I like my strength training as well.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
Neither.
Fair. Do you like to eat or not eat right before a workout?
I always work out first thing in the morning, so I absolutely never eat before a workout.
Imagine, say it's a dream or an alternate reality, you're in hell. What exercise do you imagine doing in hell?
What exercise do I imagine doing in hell? I mean, if the devil was trying to force me to do a pull-up, then that would be pretty hellish because I can't do it. So just trying to do a pull-up constantly for all of eternity.
Yeah. And how about heaven?
In heaven, I could work it so that, I'll go to the heaven without my sun sensitivity. And so then I can, go for jogging around lakes. I used to live in Minneapolis. It really is the land of 10,000 lakes. And I used to go running around the lakes in Minneapolis back when I was just ignoring my sun sensitivity. And if I could do that, once again, run around the lakes of Minneapolis, listening to a good audiobook, that would be something I might want to do in heaven.
I'm kind of curious. I was about to ask you kind of high octane music or mellow meditative music if you were listening to music while walking or running. But it sounds like audiobook is maybe.
Yeah. I just need some sort of, stimulation.
You like some narrative while working out.
Oh, yeah. I need it.
Last question. Swim in the ocean or swim in a pool?
I do love to swim in the ocean, but it makes sense for my life in various ways, largely because I live in the center of the country to swim in pools.
Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. It's been super fun.
Yes, this has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed talking about all this stuff. I mean, it's deeply ironic that I'm here because I have a dad bod. I am not a health influencer. You say at the end of the episode, we are not health professionals and we are not personal trainers. I want to reiterate that 1,000%.
But you're working out every day, Matt.
But what if I'm doing it wrong?
I don't know that there is that much of a wrong, but also I think you have convinced me I'm going to go watch Speed next time I'm doing cardio.
Yes, do it. You will. That is the best advice I've ever given anybody. So go ahead and do that and you will love it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you,
well,
Matt.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Join us next time as Sebastian talks to singer-songwriter Laura Veers about her new album Temple Songs, her love of fitness classes, and the ups and downs of her first 100-mile bike ride. Plus, we feature songs from the new album. See you then!
Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austen Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austen Rackless and Andy Rattinger, associate producer Andy Rattinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy, cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division, Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is San Francisco by Catherine Joy from the soundtrack Home is a Hotel. Special thanks to Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.